The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. Lane Frost, your legend starts now.
We're going to bring the best riders and the best bulls and show them a real sport, and if they can't make the whistle, they don't get paid.
Favorite bull rider who made his career because of the PBR?
That's easy. That's Justin McBride.
Yeah.
How in the world would somebody like me get to do what I wanted to do my whole life?
Rodeo time.
Welcome to Luke Branquinho Show. My next guest has actually frequented the show before, and we had some great conversation. And I think since that time, they have went on to win the PBR Teams World Championship. We have the head coach of the Texas Rattlers, Cody Lambert. Cody, thank you for joining us again.
Hey, good morning.
It is pretty early out here, isn't it? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock already.
Yeah. Well, since the last time we talked, you and your team went on and won the World Championship for the teams, PBR teams, and I got to experience it, see it. Is that something that you guys, when you started the PBR, ever thought you would be in a team situation like it is?
No, we didn't, but a few of us that started the PBR had been in the PRCA in 85 and 86 when the Winston Tour was around, and there was a team event, and most all the guys we know have been through college rodeo and stuff like that. So we've got a little experience with teams involved in rodeo, and then the ones that have played other sports and stuff. I don't know anybody that didn't like being part of the team. And then when we traveled, we had traveling partners and stuff. So we always, there was always the team aspect to it, but it was never an organized deal. And we hadn't given it the thought until about 2017, 18. We mentioned it, and Sean Gleason came up with the idea and mentioned it a time or two, and we were ready to pull the trigger on it as far as the PBR goes, and then COVID hit, and we didn't shut down. We did not shut down during COVID, and we did some team events with unemployed PRCA bull riders and PBR bull riders, and we picked up and we went into the South Point and built a studio right in the middle of that arena. And you walk in the South Point arena, it had a big curtain. We went to the Lazy E and camped there, and we did some team events.
Well, you brought up a very good point, and I rodeoed my whole life and never even thought about it. But you mentioned the college. That's exactly right. When you went to college straight out of high school, it was a team aspect. I mean, from practice all the way to your events, you guys everybody wore the same vest, the school colors. I never even really thought about that as far as the team concept of rodeo. I mean, realistically, like you said, the college is where that kind of you started your team rodeo in college. Now you mentioned the Winston Tour, which I heard that could have had some great success and really taken rodeo to the next level, but with issues inside the PRCA.
There was political issues and things like that outside the arena, but those were great rodeos, some of the best ever. And when we started the PBR, we patterned on a lot of the stuff that we did after the Winston Tour, and we hired Jerome Robinson, who came up with the format and managed the Winston Tour, and we took what we had learned there. And if the Winston Tour had been allowed, I told people many, many times, if the Winston Tour had been allowed to succeed, we probably wouldn't have even needed the PBR.
Well, and I think about that in my career. Obviously, you could think about what ifs and all that, where my career would have went if the Winston Tour would have taken off, and not only my career, but my generation of cowboys, the financial impact that could have had on rodeo, the cowboys, the contractors, and everybody involved.
Yeah, we learned a lot from that, and they were great great rodeos. What we learned in the PBR was just to showcase greatness. And the Winston Tour did that, like the NFR does, and in the Winston Tour, to be eligible for the draft, you had to be in the top 20 the year before, and so then there were 18 contestants. So just about everyone that was in the top 20 would wind up being on a team, but that's all that was there.
Yeah, and they started to try to do that with the tour rodeos. This would have been 2014, 15, 16, around there. They had the teams they drafted. I was on Donna Keffler's original Cougars team, which was awesome. And just that concept of rodeo, I think a lot of people didn't understand. I know it took a minute for people to really kind of follow the PBR teams. But the one question I know, early in your career, actually, Lane Frost, and you were really close. Do you think he would ever imagine rodeo being where it's at, bull riding?
I don't know. Yeah, that's hard to. I can't speak for Lane, but he was for progress, and he was for rodeo growing and winning more money. he liked to win more money. So yeah, he would have really been for it. He was part of the Winston Tour. He's one of the guys that won the most money in the Winston Tour, and he was on the Copenhagen Skull team, and the Skull team was a really, really tough team.
Well, and it's forward thinking of guys like Lane and yourself are what really grew the PBR to what it is today. You took a handful of you guys, said, we want to grow this sport. We want to make this sport better. And that's what it takes. People stepping outside of the comfort zone, people saying, okay, our circle's here. We want to make a big circle. We want to expand this, and stepping outside of what you were in.
Yeah, we want to showcase the greatness of it. It really is important that people that are not rodeo fans will watch rodeo if they know these guys are the best there is. People that are not bull riding fans will watch bull riding, respecting the fact that they're the best there is.
Right.
But you have to, in the PBR, we've felt very serious about it. Has to be real. We've got to bring the toughest bulls there is, and if they don't ride them, that's on the riders. We're not gonna water it down with a bunch of high school rodeo bulls and then try to score them 96 points and deceive the fans. We're gonna bring the best riders and the best bulls and show them a real sport. And if they can't make the whistle, they don't get paid.
We could only hope that it continues to grow. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll have more with Cody Lambert.
Hey, I'm Matt Merritt. And whether I'm hanging out at home or when I'm in the woods, or even when I'm in the arena, I always choose to be legendary. Do you?
The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. Lane Frost brand is completely family owned and operated. Every single product is designed and shipped from their hometown, Atoka, Oklahoma. The Frost family thanks customers for supporting their family. They hope you're inspired by Lane's legacy and the champion mindset. Fans of the Luke Branquinho Show can use promo code LUKE20 for 20% off any of their quality products at lanefrost.com.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. Cody, we were talking about, the start to where we're at now and how much we hope it continues to grow, PBR teams. But I want to go way back when you first started rodeoing, professionally, the crew you were with. Obviously, you guys didn't make up names for each other like some of these crews do now. But, let's walk through that. The first guys you started rodeoing with and how that impacted your career and where you're at now.
Well, I got to rodeo with a lot of great guys. I got my card in 1980, and there really weren't any guys that going to the college rodeos in the rough stock events that were interested in taking off and rodeoing. except I was at Howard College in Big Spring, and up at Snyder at Western Texas College, Dave Appleton was there. And he'd just come from Australia, and he was a little more interested than everybody else. So we got to traveling together and going to some rodeos while we were in college, and we rodeoed together there in 81, in late 80 and 81. And then in 82, early in the year, Bobby Brown he stopped me at an El Paso rodeo and asked me if I wanted to get in with him in his airplane. And that sounded like the greatest thing ever, but I had to finish college. I had to finish the college rodeos, and I told him I couldn't commit to that till after the college finals. Starting the week after the college finals at Reno, I rodeoed with Bobby Brown, and I got to go with him and Joe Alexander some. And Joe Alexander got in with us, and Bobby Berger at first. So there's just some legends, and I spent a week at Calgary with Bobby Brown and Joe Alexander at Al Sewell's house, and Joe Alexander would get up real early in the morning, and he'd drink coffee and read the newspaper and cook pancakes and eggs. And I'd get up with him and I'd listen to him and visit just a little bit, but he was I just stared at him probably, and then go lay down for an hour or so, and then Bobby Brown would get up, and I'd get up and drink coffee and laugh at him, and because he would tell some really funny stories.
Well, I bet just sitting back and listening to those two guys' stories, you learned so much.
That's where I learned. So I could then when Tough and those guys got their cards, that Tough and I started rodeoing together, and Joe Merrick was going some with us in the very beginning, and Buddy Reynolds, and then Lane Tough, me, and Donnie Gay were the only ones that were working the rodeos in Canada, and in the spring of about 84, 85, something like that. So we wound up flying together a little bit at that time, and then me, Tough, Lane, and then Jim Sharp got his card in 86, and the four of us rodeoed together. Ty Murray got his card in 88, and I entered Ty, and I got out. Clint Bronner took my spot in that bunch, and we entered the rodeos the same way, but Ty was in 3 events and I was in 2 events, so our pace was a little slower than Tough, Lane, Jim, and Clint Bronner's. So we entered a lot of the big rodeos the same way, but we might get 2 head in the bronc riding or 2 head in the bareback riding, and we channeled our energy to going to about 80 rodeos a year, where they were going to 125.
Well, you kind of got to be, you got to be around, obviously a legend yourself, but be around some legends at your young stage of your career, and then legends after you at the later stage. And you got to mold a lot of those guys into, in the stories I've heard, the stories you've told, the stories they've told, they feel like they owe you a lot of credit. And I'm talking Lane, Tough, Jim, Ty Murray. And I know you're not going to say, no, I didn't have anything to do with it, because you did, but you're not going to say that. And that's just the type of guy you are, but they know it. I think we know it. So, that's pretty cool to you be able to be around, help those guys achieve the success that they had.
Well, I watched one of your shows, and
you watched my show?
John Growney was on there, and he's saying the script was written, the book was written before I was, and that's how my life has turned out. Is when I was in high school, if somebody wanted to ride bulls and broncs like I did, we tried to help each other, and I wasn't a good student or anything in school, but I can see stuff in this sport, how in the world would somebody like me get to do what I wanted to do my whole life? What I can do now, I get to coach bull riding.
All right, well, we're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll have more with Cody Lambert. Welcome back to Luke Branquinho Show. Cody Lambert, world champion PBR teams coach of the Texas Rattlers. Cody, it was fun being around you guys when the end of my career, because we would be steer wrestling at your place, and Cody Lambert's a bronc rider, bull rider. You could pick things out that we were doing practicing for some of them guys, like, hey, what about this? Change this. And that's exactly what you're talking about. You know the arena. You could look out and see what's going on out there, and it didn't matter what event, whether it's team roping, calves, bulldog. And that's what I loved being around you, because you just had that vision.
That was funny, because I did feel like when you guys first started practicing there, I thought, well, I'm going to get in here and I'm not going to throw any steers down, but I'm going to be a part of it. And then I started listening and watching you guys, and I realized I didn't know anything. I nearly won the college finals one time in the steer wrestling, and I thought I knew a little bit about it. And then I watched you guys, and I gained a better respect. I knew I liked the steer wrestlers. I knew I liked the bulldoggers and the guys and stuff, but I gained a respect for you guys knowing what you're doing. And then training the cattle. You take sorry steers and make them better. You knew how to do that. I think a lot of people don't even understand that stock contractors send their bulldog and steers to high level pros like you guys, and the steers get better because of it. And
Absolutely.
I'd never even thought of that.
Yeah, no, we've been, John Growney, speaking of him, he was one that would always send steers to us before the finals when he'd get a pin, because he wanted to showcase his best cattle, so he wanted to send them to the best to do it. And I think that holds true with anything. I'm assuming in the bull riding, you want your bulls to be shown, take them to the best guys in the world.
Well, they bring them over here, we try to ride them for 14 seconds. I know that.
and not 2 times. That's just one trip around, because 14 seconds still don't make 8 2 times. How do you feel about the team and how they're performing?
We've never started a year this good, and we've got a lot of depth in our roster, and we're figuring things out, but we've ridden more bulls than any other team. So that's something that I'm real happy about, but we feel like we still should have ridden more yet. And we've lost 2 games. you got the record there. We've won about 6 games and lost 2.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're in a good place, but we could have done better. We don't have the highest winning percentage, and winning is what we're supposed to do. So we're getting better, but it's a decent start. We're in 2nd place.
Well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up with Cody Lambert. Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. Cody Lambert's joining us, and Cody, we're going to wrap up with a little thing we like to call some rapid-fire questions. So, favorite rodeo?
Houston.
Yeah, that's a good one. How many times you win it?
3. They gave a truck for the all-around at Houston.
Favorite NFR event?
Bronc riding.
Bronc riding. It is a classic event.
I'm sorry, but it's the bronc riding.
Okay, favorite. You can't say your team, but your next favorite PBR team.
I liked aspects of all of them, but Justin McBride's the coach of the Nashville Stampede.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to say the Missouri Thunder. Ross Coleman's the coach of the Missouri Thunder.
Favorite bull rider who made his career because of the PBR?
That's easy. That's Justin McBride.
Yeah.
He's a guy that never made it in a sport and something, and his kid's just great, and he just swells up with pride watching his kid and stuff like that. That's how I felt watching Justin McBride. Everything that we wanted the PBR to stand for and to do, and he was working at a rock quarry when he won his first PBR event, and he gave him his 2 weeks notice, I think, that week.
Well, Cody, I can't thank you enough. It's always a joy to sit down and visit with you. I know everybody watching the show has enjoyed it and appreciate your rodeo knowledge and everything you have brought and still bring into the sport. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching the Luke Branquinho Show.